Well, hello, everybody. My name's Kim. I'm part of the iMoot team, and we got something special coming up for you guys. So thank you all for being here, and I'd like to welcome Tabitha Parker and Miriam Laidlaw. They're going to tag up on us and talk about the lesson module in Moodle. So go ahead.
Good morning.
Thank you. Good morning. Sorry. Hi, I'm Miriam Laidlaw.
Hi, I'm Tabitha.
We work for Waitemata District Health Board in Auckland, New Zealand, as instructional designers. But we also have a history of work together through Unitech Institute of Technology as LMS administrators, and through HRDNZ Moodle partner in various capacities.
So this is a proposal to talk to everyone about the lesson module, and we're hoping that if we get enough groundswell, we can get a few more things happening in the lesson module. So it's a module in Moodle that hasn't had a lot of love, and we'd like to sort of suggest that there are more things that could happen with the lesson if it was made more accessible to people. So we wanted to start by getting you in the mood with an example of a lesson that we've made, and we'll talk you through how we made it. And then from there, we're hoping that if we can get everybody to contribute their ideas and their feedback, then we could have something to talk about with the lesson maintainer and see if we can get some improvements. So,
and yes, Melanie, it does have a lot of love, but no care.
So, right, let's come on this journey.
So the journey started with discover your inner mythical creature.
Should we tell them why we made this?
Oh yeah, we made this. God, we will get there. We will get there. We made this for iMoot. No.
Moodle
last year.
New Zealand Moodle.
Yeah,
they're great. You should come.
Whangarei. And we made a whole course around using core tools for engagement. So we tried to make engaging activities using just core Moodle tools, and lesson was one of those because we love the lesson. We think it's great. It's got some potential, especially if you use it in a non-linear way, which is what this is. So the theme of our whole course was about mythical creatures, and so people, as they worked their way through the course, learned a lot more about mythical creatures, and this was one way to get them to learn a little bit.
And we hoped that by getting people to use a lesson which doesn't have everybody ending in the same place, you've got a whole lot of different people taking on different roles of understanding the content and being able to contribute to the following activities after the lesson.
Yeah.
So here we go.
Discover your inner mythical creature. Continue. And I think this is the only linear part of the lesson. So this is, we took screenshots so that we didn't have to screen share. So this is me going through the lesson.
So do you like to retain some human qualities, or do you like to be something completely different?
I don't want to be humanoid. Get rid of that dot.
Would you like to be able to soar through the skies, or are you much happier down below?
I like to fly.
How about you choose a coat? Scales or feathers?
Scales.
You're a dragon.
So obviously the other branches took you other places, but I took very deliberate choices to take me to the dragon. And then once people got to their end point, they got a drawing in case they didn't know what it was that they ended up at. And they got, what are you doing? Oh, and they got some information.
So you could have ended up being one of these characters.
Any one of those.
And then you can use that knowledge to start working with other people on the next challenge.
It's a long way to go
How do you
back.
go back?
Back to the dragon. There we go. Okay. So people ended up at different points and then got together and shared information about their creature that they've ended up as, which was quite a neat way to break the ice.
It was also really non-threatening. Like, lesson is a way to get people talking about the content and making decisions without having to type in a forum. So lesson,
and they're not being graded about it for it.
Yeah.
English, good.
So yeah, lesson definitely can be a useful tool. So this is how we made it. We made a page. And we couldn't make any jumps yet on the first page because we didn't have a page to jump to. So we made another page and 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 so on and so on.
You make all the pages.
Yeah.
Yep.
And then we went back and added the jumps.
Yeah.
Yeah. But to do that, it's kind of a little bit complicated because you're actually editing the same page repeatedly, trying to add all those jumps back in and test they all work. And
And the other fun thing about adding jumps is if you haven't named your pages particularly well, which one of the what's your habitat pages am I meant to be jumping to for which bit?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So because you want to name the pages in such a way that it makes sense to the learner, because the name of the page is right there at the top. There's no separate page title that is its title. But how you also want it to make sense to the designer, because you're the one having to set all those jumps all over the place. So what we actually did was when we created the pages, or we went back afterwards when we realized doing the jumps was going to be impossible, we renamed them all so that they made sense for us. So we knew exactly which jump would go where. And then once we had all the jumps working, we went back and we renamed them all again so that they were just nice titles for the learner, because the jumps were already set and that wouldn't break the jumps once you'd already set them.
Yeah.
So it was a lot of work. We handled each page like 5 or 6 times just to get this working.
But don't worry, teachers have loads of free time. They don't mind doing that.
Oh, shush.
Hello, cat. So, you can look at each page using the expanded view. How big was your paper in which you mapped everything out? We used a whiteboard, but we'll explain that in a minute.
Yeah.
So you can go between collapsed and expanded view. An expanded view gives you a bit more of an idea of the content, but you can't do that with the jump part. So you can't see the content of the page you're jumping to.
She's even orange.
Meet the cat.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the expanded view didn't quite help with fixing the jump problem, but it does give you a bit more idea which page you're editing. Bye-bye, cat.
Okay. That should be enough to shut her up.
Yeah, that's a little cat. Yeah, we specifically got that cat right.
Yeah,
for that
just for
reason.
this. The other one's black. So.
Okay, what was that screenshot for? Oh yeah, all
Trying
right,
to explain.
right. So
yeah.
if you look below each
Pointing doesn't help.
each page, you can look here. Oh, I can see the pointer, can
No, I pointed with my finger. That does not help at all.
I? So you can see here, you can add different page types. So you can import things or add content or clusters. What's a cluster? In a branch, an end of cluster, like really? A question page.
I mean, we know what clusters are, but it's just having to explain how to set them up and how to use them when teachers are already struggling with setting up their content pages and their question pages is just...
Yeah. So when we work with a teacher, we go, right, okay, so you're going to make a page. So add a content page, start writing. Oh, you meant that. Okay, right. You wanted your question now. Okay, well, this page is already a content page.
You can't change it.
Make a new page. This time go add a question page. Oh, you're not ready for the question page. I know you just wrote all that stuff and found that picture. I know it took you ages to work out how to insert the picture. I know. Yes, we understand. But now you have to do it again because you got the wrong page type.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, prepare yourself is basically the best advice for lessons, because when you're working in a lesson, you're obviously working in a very linear format. And if you're not prepared and you don't know where the lesson's going, it's very difficult. So we started with a whiteboard.
A very nice new whiteboard that was all clean. Not really.
It was a bit dirty. And there was loads of untidy writing as we just brainstormed things out, and loads of reflective glare in our photograph. But it really did help us pick our creatures to include. And we started to look for themes and commonalities and differences that we needed for the workflow.
The other thing that actually helps with my mapping things out is actually working out what's relevant to the course content.
Yeah.
So it sort of helped us work out the teaching plan as well. So,
but yeah, wouldn't it be cool if you could just do this but directly in Moodle?
Yeah,
yeah,
and to have nicer screen captures because it would be typed.
Yeah, and so from that, tried to refine it and rationalize it a bit and make it a bit more readable, and come up with various characteristics that we could potentially use for each of the creatures that we ended up deciding on.
So Kim says they just need to dig in and play with it. Yes and no. So you've got the people who will do that and will get really enthusiastic about that and will spend the time. Then you've got the teachers who find this really hard, literally think the computer will catch fire if they make a mistake, and will end up not participating in anything beyond upload my slides and here's an assignment because they find it so hard.
It's also quite difficult to visualize what is essentially a flowchart when it's presented to you in a very linear way. So that's a barrier that really doesn't need to be there. We have the technology, so which we will show you later. But we went from that list to something that I thought, well, I need to figure out what branches where. And I mean, this did make sense to me at the time, because we started off with humanoid or not, and then if you chose not, it went into that, and then if you chose that, it went into that, and then so it did make sense. It was my attempt at drawing a flowchart without having to draw a flowchart, but it was messy still.
So anyway, I did a flowchart.
So yeah, we
because I had to work out how to get those pages to actually work. So
yeah. And this is what we actually used when we set up the lesson, because what this gave us was all the pages that we needed. So we just went through and made all the pages that we needed, and then we could go through each page systematically and go, right, where is that one jumping to?
And so, yeah, we'd like it to, if you could do that in Moodle and have it create, when you create a page, also be able to create a relationship. So you could see that as you're working. The next slide. Hey,
we've
something
already
happened
seen
to
that.
that slide. We just have to point out that Miriam drew these. So we having a resident artist really helps with not worrying about copyright. So
no copyright on my images.
Okay, so right. We briefly mentioned this before.
Yeah.
But, it's worth bringing it up again because it is a real issue for people to know how to use the lesson. The language is unusual. If you've only just arrived at lesson module, you're being presented with these things about end of branch and cluster.
At least they changed add a branch to add a content page. Because add a branch, though technically correct, was a confusing term for teachers who were just thinking of it as a page to put content with a choice at the end of it.
Yeah, if anyone has any great ideas on how you can explain it better to people than, like with Lego or something, then that would be great.
Combine the two? Combine what two, Christina?
The cluster or the content in question?
Kind of the content and the branch page, and try to make some more choices on that one page so that you don't have so many different types of pages.
Well, the content and branch page are the same page. They renamed a branching page or branch to content.
Oh, sorry, I saw the add and end of branch. Sorry. Never mind.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the end of branch still uses branch.
Yeah. So like, I don't know, why can't add, like, you make a page and then it's like you choose what kind of page this is from within the page or something, because then you're just turning on and off things from within the page instead of having to make the decision before you start about what kind of page it should be.
Yeah.
Okay, so moving a page. The reason we wanted to point this out is because, like, we're going to move a page too. The list is all pages in a row. I mean, they're all one after the other, so you can't really move the page to match the non-linear nature of the content. So
yeah,
like
now reports and grades, we brought this up because you can generate reports from lessons, and you can grade lessons. We generally haven't used lessons in that way, so our example doesn't have a grade. And when we looked at the reports on that example, they were useless, possibly because it's not being graded. So I think it would be useful to have different reports, not just reports on graded stuff, but sort of maybe have some reports on how far people got through, and
reports that say, like, everybody, like, 50% of people are choosing A and 50% are choosing B, or 80% choose A, and so which path is it that they're most likely to take?
Yeah, a choice page and a question page. Choice has no right answer and branches, and the question has correct, incorrect. Yeah.
But maybe that could be a toggle, like when you're in the page.
Yeah.
So you create your page and then it says, hey, should this matter if it's correct or incorrect? Yeah.
Progress report. Yeah.
Yeah.
Pages on individual level, but you can't see it as a teacher how far someone is. Exactly. So, I mean, that would be great to see in a report, sort of be able to see the different ways that people have gone through the lesson and where they stopped, if they got to the end of a branch or if they stopped partway through, because a bit more tracking. There is a progress bar. It doesn't work so well in a branching thing, and it's only visible to the student, not visible to the teacher.
So yeah, so when you are in reports and grading areas, you can see something called class statistics. So it'd be interesting to hear if anyone's using those and whether they are any good. And when you're grading essays, there is an email graded essay feature. It does just literally, you press it and the email is sent. So does this work for people? Do they need it to do anything else? And the report does tell you what time, what date and time somebody started a lesson, and it tells you how many minutes and seconds they spent in there.
And why is the lesson the only activity that won't separate groups? I suppose because they're not seeing other people in the lesson anyway, but
the teacher might
like to look at reports
by group.
Yeah. Or sort alphabetically.
Sort what alphabetically?
What are we sorting? Is this in the reports?
Oh, do you mean that the reports, like, so you can see the students alphabetically? Sort by first name? So yeah, exactly. Yeah.
It hasn't seen a lot of TLC.
So we want to run through the activity settings and see if that can help trigger off other people's ideas around any improvements that they can think of.
Yeah.
And it also will tell us what you're using and how. So that might also be useful for lesson maintainers.
So we have a little rant in here about the name and description, which is a general rant about all activities, name and description. They don't have little question marks next to them because I suppose they think this is pretty obvious what it is, but it's not necessarily obvious to the teacher that the name is what they will see on the course page for
What
the students to click
will
on.
Click on, yeah.
And it's not necessarily obvious to the teacher that the description is not the content.
Yeah. Oh, honestly.
Yeah.
In all the activities.
Yeah.
Name and description need a little subline that says this is what
Everything
it's
should
for.
have little help bubbles.
Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly. Even if you think it's obvious and idiot proof, it should have help bubble.
That's right, Kim. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, anyway.
That was our little rant over with.
Back to the lesson module. Right. So yeah, progress bar. Like, why can you not make some choices? Yeah, I want a progress bar, but I want it to look like this and behave like this, and I want different colors, and I want to use little icons, my icons, you know? Like I want it to change color as they work on the progress bar.
Like go from red to orange to green as they get closer to the end. Wouldn't that be nice?
Yeah, like there should be more stuff. And like choosing where you put it on the screen, things like that.
Yes.
Mm.
You want it at the top, the bottom, the side.
Okay, should we zoom in a little bit to help people see what's going on?
Oh, yep. Yep.
Yeah. Linked media, progress bar, display ongoing score, display menu, minimum grade to display menu, slideshow, maximum number of answers, use default feedback, link to next activity. So we use a few of those. Chuck it in the chat if you use some of them.
And then use default feedback. Wouldn't it be nice if you could set the default feedback on this page like you can in the quiz module?
Mm. Yeah, so that you can have, this is the, yeah, but I think
it is set to no by default.
Melanie says, I hate default feedback. The reason we would like to be able to alter that default feedback is so that you can make it match what supports the way you talk with your students, the language that you use. So
no, it's not your fault.
So well, like with questions and question banks and things like that, we can use default in a quiz, you can use default feedback for that quiz, and you can set the kind of tone, whereas here you don't actually get that. So
Gemma says regarding the progress bar, the look changes. Tried to get that in the dashboard project of MUA, but HQ said it wouldn't work, so she doesn't think that'll get through. But if we keep pushing at it, just keep poking, somebody will make it work eventually, maybe. Exactly.
Oh, we're zoomed in. It's like you can't see everything. Availability. So do people use the availability settings or passwords? Is this enough stuff for availability? And flow control.
Now, Miranda, when she was in the session, whenever we did this the other day, said she likes allow student review. I never fully understood what that was, so
Go back.
People can probably explain to me, and I'll read the question mark thing again. But I never used it, or I always set it to yes because I was like, I don't know, yes, I guess.
A number of pages to show. Like,
It used to have a flashcard option, but it doesn't seem to have it anymore.
So Gemma and Melanie have both asked about whether we're interested in
the question bank connected to lesson.
Yeah,
that is something that has been talked about previously. And people have gone, yes, that would be great. And it's never happened. So I think that is definitely something that should be resurrected as an idea. And
we're going to, we've put a forum in the course on iMoot here. So throw all your ideas in there as well. So we have this recorded session in the chat here, but it'd also be good to record chat. I hope it records chat.
It does.
It would also be good to post your ideas in the forum as well, because then we can share that as well, share your thoughts. See how it works on the plugin content pages. No? You're going to tell us about it, Gemma?
Yeah. Gemma doesn't have a microphone, but if you have a link or something that people can click on to look at, because I know we haven't.
Okay.
It's still zoomed, so just grab it up.
So the grade options.
So are these suitable to your needs? is there anything else that you feel needs to go in here? So sorry. I think I need a coffee.
Thanks,
thank
Gemma.
you.
If anyone wants to follow that link there, they can have a look at what Gemma's talking about with the plugin content pages regarding the question page.
Thanks. That would be great if you could share it on there as well, because then we can have a look and comment on it.
And Gemma's going to put that link in the forum.
Yeah.
Okay. And
then yeah, the usual stuff about common module settings, tags, and now, since it's a new version of Moodle, competencies. It's just, is this just there for consistency with other modules? Because we know that groups
and lesson.
yeah. Do the teachers or students see anything different? Groupings make sense because you can make the lesson available to only a certain grouping. But does the groups thing make sense?
Yeah.
And does anyone have anything to add about tags or competencies?
I think
Does anyone use the ID number ever?
Yeah, Melanie says, I think the minimum number of questions really means pages, but I'm not sure. Does anyone use the ID number ever? Where was that?
Up there.
Up there. In any module, I've never used the ID number field.
We used it in Moodle 1.9 at the DHB. We used the ID number in the modules because we had some sort of customization on our Moodle that would look at the ID number for some things. I'm not sure what it was though, because when I came along, it was because we were moving from that Moodle to a shared Tortora. And so my job wasn't to understand why the ID numbers were in there. It was just to move the content over. So, but yes, we use them. I'm not sure to what purpose, but we use them.
Yes, Melanie, 1.9, those were the days.
Yeah.
If you come to our next talk, you'll be able to come on a trip down memory lane with us.
Yeah, right down memory lane.
So there has been a recent improvement. Yay! And it gets half a job done, which is cool. It's the option to duplicate page. So that's really, really good. We can now duplicate pages.
But it will keep the page type. So you duplicate a content page, it makes a content page. You can't make a question page from it, and vice versa.
So if you think back to our example where we had 2 pages that ask about the habitat, so we could have duplicated that page and then just alter the little bits that need altering in that page. But if we wanted it to suddenly become a question page, we still can't do that.
These screenshots are all from 3.2, but I don't know at what point that duplicate page option came in. 3.1?
3.1 or 3.2? 3.2, I think.
Okay.
It's pretty new. It
might be only there in 3.2.
But yay!
And then Gemma actually uses the ID for education codes of permanent education points. Excellent. Don't know what that means, but yay! So it obviously has a function.
Okay, so Adrian Grieve feels everybody's pain in these developing lessons and has made something, a proof of concept, and shown it to the Moodle general developers in a meeting. It was quite recent. July
2015. Yeah, really recent.
He made it in his spare time. So thank you very much, Adrian. That's awesome that you've put the effort in and made this. So we're going to show you.
It got a lot of enthusiasm at that meeting. We're not sure where that enthusiasm went, but
so yeah, hands up who would like Adrian Grieve to have a bit more time. Have a look. If you're on Moodle Tracker, then check out ticket 50905.
We have the links to the ticket and the video already in the forum. So so if you want to have a look at them after this session is done, the forum in our course on iMoot has got those links pinned to the post.
Now, the video is long. Okay, so it is a Moodle General Developer meeting. It is very long. But the bit where Adrian talks, if you don't want to know about all of the other things that they talk about, you can just go straight there. Their link goes to 43 minutes in.
Yeah, the link will take you straight to 43 minutes.
Okay.
if you click it from our forum.
So, yeah, what Adrian made is, you see this box here, and then you've got add lesson elements. So across the top, you've got the kind of page types, and then down here, you've got the content. So
you just, and you can edit. And
Just
so
click,
once you've created your little box to say, yep, I want a content page down here, you can edit it directly on that page as well.
yeah,
It's quite nice.
so you still see some normal things: page title, page contents, and where the jump is. This is proof of concept at this stage. So here you go.
And as you drag things down, it makes the connections, it makes the links and the jumps and everything for you, which if it makes the wrong ones, so I think in this particular example, it had made a link from content start to content to true, false, and then to multiple choice. And he showed himself unlinking the multiple choice box from the true, false box and linking it to the content box, the second content box.
Yeah, so you're just clicking on the cog and going change link. You click on the link button and then clicking on the box that he wants to link to.
Yeah.
So that's pretty cool.
It was pretty nifty to watch.
Yep, here's another screenshot showing you.
And he showed how you could just drag and move those boxes around, so you could rearrange them on the page to be however you wanted them to look, which was quite nice.
And then, so here you go. This is the little drop down. You can edit the page, link, or delete the page.
Yeah,
change the link. And you can
look, that explains what a cluster is in a very visual format.
Yeah, so that helps if you're trying to explain a cluster. Give them a picture like this.
Yeah.
And you could still get to the collapsed or expanded list and then get to the full page.
Yes,
so you
still had the other views. This was just an extra tab. So you had normally you just have collapsed and expanded, and this was like a JavaScript tab or something. I don't remember what the tab was. He shows it in the video.
Yeah. So that's useful in that you can still get to the expanded view and then get in to edit the page with your full HTML, your full editor. So in here, he doesn't show it with an editor to edit the page content. So you probably still want the other for your teachers who don't know how to write HTML and haven't seen Scott talk about Bootstrap.
And Paula said, yes, it's a JavaScript tab.
Yeah.
Thanks.
So yeah, a big thank you to Adrian for doing that.
Getting people re-enthused about lesson 2 years ago.
And if you are on Tracker, you could vote for this to add your voice. You can watch it, comment on it. So please do that if you are on Tracker. And if you're not on Tracker, so it's quite easy to sign up.
Yeah.
Please do join. It's a great place to find out what's happening in terms of development and
you just use your Moodle login on Tracker.
Yeah. Connected to Moodle.org.
So we just had some questions to leave you guys with, and we have a bit of time at the end of the session today to discuss these. So think about some things that you love about lessons and you really want to keep or develop. Some challenges and limitations. I mean, we've gone over some of those as we've been going through the session.
But if you think of more, just add them in the forum.
Please do. And future state, blue sky thinking, like what would you really want the lesson to eventually be like, to look like? And for me, Adrian summed it up reasonably well. Being able to branch.
Has Melanie got a mic? No. Melanie can type though?
Yeah.
Mind map creation,
Yeah. Choose a font style size.
All right, like set your own CSS for your lesson.
So you don't have to change it every time.
So Melanie wants to
and
choose
you can't
fonts,
change the title font.
No, you can't
change
change
in the thing.
Have you tried tracking some HTML tags in the
No, I haven't. I would suspect
Yeah.
Yeah, the size
So,
and style for the whole thing. Yeah.
so if that was in the activity settings, say, hey, what are your requirements for this lesson? And you could set the style and size, like setting the CSS for your lesson. That would be cool. I like that idea. Thanks, Melanie.
Yeah. Just a bit more to make it look nicer. Just some options around styling to make it look less just like a page of text.
Yep. So Gareth says needs a custom CSS box. Gemma says maybe in a way that works in the H5P.
Yeah.
So H5P came up the other day when we were talking in our previous session. So it looks like there's some recent development happening in H5P.
Yeah.
And so one of the comments that we made last time about saying, hey, we don't need this anymore. We don't need lesson. We could use H5P. If you remember, everybody was using their questionnaire module.
Yeah.
And then there was discussion around, well, everybody could use the feedback module. Let's just work in there.
And discard the questionnaire
The questionnaire module. Well, it didn't happen. The number of places that we've seen that they have kept both.
Oh, that's interesting. H5P is only about content, not about grading.
Mm.
And the other thing that we were concerned about is we're not sure how much H5P, once you've got it installed, is working locally and how much of it is working remotely. So if you had it installed and you were on a completely offline machine, does everything and H5P answers can be circumnavigated by participants with competent computer skills. There's a plugin for it. Hang on, I thought it did link in places to the Gradebook.
There's lots
it can easily be hacked and not to use for test questions. I mean, I don't think lesson is really designed as such for test questions, but it can be used for that. We use it for one of our modules at WDHB because it created a nicer flow when you're wanting to just do a single sort of scenario-based question and give them feedback directly after the question before they move on. Was possible in lesson and not so easy to set up in quiz because it's not really designed to work that way. So we do use lesson in one of our courses as the quiz replacement.
Going back through the comments, Miranda suggested more question types would be good. And there's lots of conversation around whether you can hack H5P. The question, if somebody can hack H5P, then do they need to learn anymore? Well, yes.
It depends on what you're asking, though.
The course might be chemistry. It might not be about computer
literacy. H5P is linked to Gradebook, but as Jaswinda said, H5P is easily to manipulate, as well as it does not store into the database where the questions have gone, so students can redo the question just by refreshing the page. Oh, well, that's not exactly a hack, is it? that's like quite easy for people to work out how to do and to tell other people, oh, if you got the question wrong, just refresh your page.
Can someone who knows about H5P tell me which activity provides options to make branched content? Another question there. And then the other thing is trying to decide when to use something that's made in Moodle for Moodle and when to use something that's made elsewhere and brought into Moodle. So you get a sort of consistency around things that are Moodle, written for Moodle, compared to other things. And I think as you start to shift into using more external things, it's harder for your teachers and learners to follow what's going on, and they can't just apply the same rules to creating their content.
So, and Gemma says H5P has no intention to develop H5P in this way that this would work, and it cannot branch content.
Right.
So, not sure why it was then suggested as a replacement for lesson in our previous session. I haven't used it, so we just sort of went, oh, really? Oh, okay, cool.
We tested it that one time.
Oh, yeah, we tested it one time.
But it wasn't to make anything like a lesson.
No.
So the other thing we were talking about before is about scenarios and asking questions. So you can, with the quiz module, create some information at the top of a page and say, hey, watch this video, read this content, look at these pictures, do whatever. And then here are some questions of different types about that scenario. And then they can next page onto a new scenario with a new set of questions. But it's not the same as lesson.
No.
It is a little bit different. So you can't quite go the same. If your primary intention is to use it to ask questions about scenarios, you could use quiz. If your primary intention is to do something more like pick a path, then you still need lesson module.
And they don't have to click check on the page. They can just click next and not check anyway. So it doesn't really work as well for scenarios either. This is on quiz.
So we can keep going. But we just want to say thank you.
Oh, yeah, thanks for that reminder.
So thanks everyone for coming along, and we really appreciate all your comments in the chat. If you can, come into the forum and add any other suggestions and ideas for us to give back to the community.
Yep.
The fact that you came tells us that people do use lesson and want to hear about what could be done to make things better. So thank you very much for your contributions.
Yes.
Yes, thank you, ladies, very much for that. That was a great presentation. So on behalf of the iMoot team, we thank you for presenting and doing so many presentations here for us too. So, and we thank everybody for joining us. It always makes for a much better presentation when we've got people in the room to engage with. So yeah. So next up, we have you two again. So we're going to be talking about the boost and tours for Moodle, right? Old school Moodlers. Oh man, so we're going all the way back to 1.9?
I started on 1.4, I think.
Oh my goodness.
I started on 1.9.
I think I started when it was 1.9. So yeah. So once again, thank you guys.
Yay,
awesome.
So if you'd like to join us in the next one, we're going to move to the new room.
Yep.
Thanks everyone for coming along.
Thank you.
We're happy to
continue
conversations in the forum.
Yep.
Thank you.
See you in the next room.
See you.